Why is it that every time I talk about Devo, some asshole shows up and says, "Oh, Devo, aren't they the Whippet guys?" No, the weird-looking people who leave those CO2 cartridges behind your apartment complex are the Whippet guys. Devo is an incredible band, and I'm going to tell you about them right now and why you should listen to the rest of their work. Because goddammit, Whippet was the least of it.
Whippet good!
Oh my fucking god. No. Why?
I cannot say enough about this band. Everything from their early work and their demos and their just kind of alternate versions of their songs to the later work that they did much later on. All of it was just kind of amazing to me. When I was 4 years old, my uncle bestowed upon my brother and I an audio tape of Devo. Popped it into my Walkman, and it was the first tape that I ever legitimately listened to. Not knowing a whole lot about what their message was at the time, I still really dug it, and over time grew to better understand what they were saying. Those great crunchy bass notes and all of that wonderful synth and all of their message in general was just really incredible to me.
It's not nuclear bombs we must fear, but the human mind itself, or lack of it, on this planet. It's time to go beyond the normal thing. It's time to do the super thing. It's time for Devo.
Wikipedia states that Devo is an American pop band that formed in 1973, inspired by kitsch science fiction themes, deadpan surrealist humor, and mordantly satirical social commentary. Their often discordant pop songs feature unusual synthetic instrumentation and time signatures that have proven influential on subsequent popular music. The name Devo comes from their concept of de-evolution, the idea that instead of continuing to evolve, mankind has actually begun to regress, as evidenced by the dysfunction and herd mentality of American society. And mock they did the status quo, partially with some of their covers. Most of the time now someone will tell me, hey, this band everyone knows of did a cover of this song, and it's the same song but with electric guitars. It's not that interesting. These people really knew how to do covers.
Hey, hey, hey! That's what I say. I can't get no satisfaction.
It is such a bummer that so many people consider Devo to be a joke band, because they're really not. They're not just this novelty, they're people who really had a message to make clear. And alongside all their covers, they released a whole bunch of really wonderful songs that were super influential in their sound to a lot of music afterward. If you've not heard the greater ends of Devo's music, then you've probably not seen just how much they've influenced bands now, and how much people have taken from their sound. It is just so important to hear that. They were also some of the original pioneers of the music video, making a lot of clips for the Laserdisc. The Laserdisc, remember that? I don't even think I was there. Put very simply, it was basically a giant failed attempt at the first DVDs, and I found it amazing that they made music videos of themselves before there was really a place for music videos on TV. I mean, think about that. It's kind of like when my generation was making anime music videos and sharing them over data discs because we didn't have YouTube to share it on. Jeez, where does the time for all that wasted effort go? Another nifty fact is that they tended to have videos that featured very average-looking people. And there were a lot of weirdos and bizarre visuals in their videos, and this really kind of made people uncomfortable, which is why they were so very misunderstood and so ignored, and not a lot of people got what they were trying to do. The year of my birth, they released Smooth Noodle Naps, and then nothing for like 20 years, but there's no need to go any further into that. We don't talk about that! Okay, so in 2010 they released an album called Something for Everybody. I even still have mixed opinions about this album. It was all built of hits. They were trying to make it really accessible, really like, hey, let's try and make a whole bunch of sugar-coated and like scientifically formulaic, this is what people want to hear sort of music. Still with a twinge of them, but also kind of reeking of that fact. Although it was made with a bunch of really interesting instruments and there are a few fascinating concepts to how it was constructed, it was still kind of meh. It played reference to a lot of current events and popular media that sort of kept it from even remotely being timeless. Some of the lyrics, you hear them and you're just like, oh yeah, remember when that happened? It just wasn't the same, and after essentially waiting my entire conscious life for them to make more music, we got something that wasn't them at all. They didn't do what makes Devo, Devo. Whether it was intended or not, the experiment did show something, and that is basically that making an entire album of Whippets doesn't work. And it shows why the stuff that they did before was so very, very great and so out there and so mind-blowing, was because they just didn't care what people thought for the most part. And I think that really did breed better music. So in my personal opinion, not a huge fan of that album. There are even a couple of the earlier albums I'm not a huge fan of, but here are some of the albums that I really recommend you check out. I think you would love them. Give them a listen, find them, tell me what you think. As always, feel free to comment on any bands you feel got a raw deal in their recognition purely for their hits, who people really need to hear the rest of. Let me know down in the comments. So remember everyone, mutate positively, go forward, move ahead, and give the past a slip. This has been The Least of It.
Yes,